You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan and Kaan.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. After back-to-back defeats in the league for Beşiktaş, we have rebounded now in Europe with a crucial victory over the Swedish champions Malmö FF. Absolutely important win for us, and I'm just going to switch the camera to my co-host as I fix my issue here where my co-hosts aren't showing on the board. Sinan joining us live as always from New York City, and of course from Glasgow, Scotland is Kartal. Guys, welcome to the show. It's been 2 days, it's weird, we played on Wednesday and we're recording now, of course, or we're going live now on Friday rather. First feelings, first thoughts on the game. Sinan, how are you feeling after that important victory over the Swedish champs?
I feel really good. Obviously, if we'd gotten the point, there would have been theoretically nicer ways visually for us to get those 3 points, or more exciting ways to get those 3 points. Mm-hmm. But getting those 3 points was the key thing. And I think turning the results in our favor, hopefully gaining a little momentum for our whole season. I think there are lots of reasons why getting these 3 points was vital, regardless of, the performance, over 90 minutes. Although I will say, I think the second half was a marked improvement.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't go that far. I think we shifted it after the 70-minute mark, perhaps, but it was... I thought Malmö were actually the far better side in the second half for the first 20-25 minutes or so. Kartal, I don't know how you looked at the game. What were your feelings, the performance in general, but of course the result, that's the absolute most important aspect of it, right?
The result's great, man. We get the 3 points. Obviously, we wish we kept the clean sheet. Well, robbed of that right at the end. Which was quite unfortunate, but obviously the 3 points is what's important. We got them. There's something I do want to highlight though, and the fact that it was night and day this game between the Kasımpaşa game and this game. Not because I fully agree with what you guys are saying. I don't think we were the better team until the 70th minute when Muçi and Nashika came on, but the intensity, the passion.
In the first half in particular, right?
First half in particular, yeah. The intensity and the passion, the press. The desire to win the game was very, very good. Mm-hmm. Very good. Mm-hmm. Although the technical play wasn't so good in the first half, especially. But in that first half, I was really happy because I saw a team that wanted to fight and gave their all and pressed. Although we didn't play that good, but that's important. Because against Kasımpaşa, we didn't see any of that. To be honest, I saw a team that gave up against Kasımpaşa and had no intensity. No desire, no will to win. I didn't see any of that against Kasımpaşa at all. So even to see that in that first half where we weren't so good, was very refreshing for me.
I think that's such an important point to mention. The effort was really solid, and that's something you wanted to see out of the gates. And I think I remember at some point in the first half, and although no doubt, Malmö had actually created some pretty decent chances, and I think you could easily say we're the better side. It still felt like, given how much of the ball we had, given the impetus that the team seemed to have going forward, I really genuinely thought that it was kind of mystifying how few chances we had. Although, even as the sort of weaker side in the between the two on the day, I still felt like we should have created more chances than we did. We were, moving the ball around, holding it pretty well, showing intent, but without any final product. So I'm glad that in the second half it kind of at least turned around.
Yeah, let's get to the lineup for the game before we delve into further details. But Sinan, maybe you can take us through the 11.
Nice. I got confirmation that the sound is good.
What was that, Sinan?
I think I might have explained this previously. It's happened before. I have this little piece of tape that I use to cover my camera typically, so it's not always like on. Anyway,
that's for when he's watching certain internet channels that.
And so the FBI's not watching him at all times.
Yeah, exactly. No, because most computers have the thing that can like shut the camera, but like I don't have that, so I made a makeshift one, and it's finally wearing thin, sadly. Sorry, fellas, trying to find my apps. Getting used to a new phone. I got everything in new places now, so it's the transition. Anyway, okay, you ready for the lineup, fellas? Let's do the other team first. I'll give them the full respect, the full, intro. So from the back, their goalkeeper was a 31-year-old Brazilian named Ricardo Frederick. One of those yeah, he was played for Ankaragücü. One of those like Brazilians with a German last name somehow.
And
that's like a theme, right?
Their other goalkeeper also played for Gençlerbirliği, so I think both their goalkeepers have a Turkish history, if I'm not mistaken.
That's interesting. That's kind of fascinating. Anyway, on their back line, 33-year-old Swede Pontus Jansson, whose name also sounds familiar. Did he play in Turkey?
No.
Next to him was 19-year-old Swedish central defender Nils Zetterström. Sorry, go ahead, Kartal.
He played in England. He played for Leeds, and then he left Leeds and went to Brentford, I think.
Okay, that's probably how I recognize.
I think there was a guy in Konyaspor who was named Jonsson or something as well.
Yeah, that's another guy too.
Ago.
Yeah,
I think I'm not quite. You had.
And with a name like Pontus, like I've definitely heard it before, and I don't know.
This guy played for Leeds and Brentford, but he was in the Leeds Till We Die documentary. So maybe if you watched that.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Anyway, sorry. The last central defender in their three-man back line was Norwegian 24-year-old Colin Rosler. And I kept thinking he said Rosier on his back during the game. And then
first time I saw his back, I was also like, huh? Is his name Rosier?
yeah, with the like umlaut. Yeah, it's like, huh? Anyway, up to the central midfield, they had 25-year-old Norwegian Lasse Berg Jonsson. Next to 29-year-old Peruvian Sergio Pena. I don't know. There was no, the little thing over the end that you would have expected.
Yeah, no, I think there is, but not maybe. Isn't there?
Maybe Fatma dropped the ball. Anyway, right midfielder for them, Swedish 21-year-old Hugo Bolin. Opposite, 26-year-old Brazilian left midfielder Busanello, who there's a famous coffee brand here. I think it's from like Puerto Rico called something very similar to that. I kept thinking about coffee whenever they mentioned his name. Man, now I want a coffee. Anyway, Eric Botheim, 24-year-old Norwegian, played up top next to 34-year-old Danish, also an attacking midfielder. So they didn't play with a proper striker, or at least not according to Fatma.
Tinin is a striker. He used to play for Kasımpaşa.
But sorry, the 34-year-old Danish Anders Christensen was the last one. Oh, sorry, I missed the last player. I was the video was covering it. Yes, you're right. 32-year-old Swede Isaac Kiese Tellin is the striker up top for them.
He scored 15 goals in the Allsvenskan this season. He's their top scorer, and he played for Kasımpaşa for about a season, I think. He scored, I think maybe only half a season, because I believe, if I remember correctly, he scored 9 goals in 15 appearances. So he must have been one of those guys they got in January to save them from relegation or something.
Probably, right? On to our lineup, which is, I guess, where we get to have some fun conversations. In the goal, of course, Mert Gunok is back. Doesn't seem like he's in and out of the lineup anymore. Hopefully that means he's healthy permanently. On the back line, also returned, is Gabriel Paulista opposite Felix Udokai. And I must say, even while Malmö was the better side, it was great to see those two operating. Like, when you have those two on the back line, you just feel so secure. I mean, you obviously, like, goals can come even with great central defenders, but it feels so good to have that stability back there. And yeah, Gabriel Paulista was right back into it, I thought, with, you know, the energy and the sliding tackles and, you know, honestly putting his body on the line perhaps a little too much sometimes, but I guess that's just how he rolls. Right back, Jonas Svensson, who we've all commented that his form had taken a slight dip in recent matches, so I speak for, I think, all of us when I said it was great to see how he played in this match. We'll talk about that more, obviously, as we talk about the match. Opposite him was Arthur Masuaku, who was coming off quite possibly his worst match in a Beşiktaş jersey.
Maybe even in his career.
Maybe, yeah, could be. I didn't follow him at West Ham, but it's plausible. Up ahead of those guys, Cher and Dur played next to Jedson Fernandes, with Rafa Silva up ahead of them. You love to see a fairly intact midfield, although I think all of us were curious to see if Al-Musrati would get inserted back into the lineup. I will mention here, since we're talking about the lineup, that he did make a vital sub-performance, so he did come into the game later. On the wings, we had Ernest Muçi on the right side and João Mario on the left, which was another new look, I think. Have we seen that before?
But one thing I want to mention, Sinan, is they did like swap over a lot. So
I noticed that too. Yeah. Which would have been more. I think you would have expected. I think we've probably seen João Mario on the right and Muçi on the left. So anyway,
Muçi was on the right a lot. It wasn't until the second half when he moved permanently to the left, because he was on the right most of the time. Because I was very not amused by his performance in this game, I have to say, and he was almost always on the right side. And
neither was I, to be honest.
We'll talk about it in a bit. Please continue. Sorry, Sino.
No problem. And so finally, and this is obviously the big talking point, I would imagine, if we choose to, was our striker. Semih Kiliçsoy played up top for the first time this season. I think something we all, Kaan's main potential criticism, which he introed in the last episode of our podcast, was that, if Giovan Bronckhorst, that is, played Mustafa Hekimoğlu up top, that would be like a cardinal sin that he would not be able to look past. So I don't know. Maybe Gio's listened to the podcast, or maybe he's just a good coach. But yeah, either way, he made the right call, it appears. So yeah, that's our lineup. Any comments, fellas? What did you think about seeing Paulista back in? Were you worried maybe he was being brought back too soon? What did you think about the wings, Muçi and João Mario? Kind of switching sides, and then of course Semih up top.
I think the lineup was ideal from what we have available, and obviously Rashica just been back from injury. Apart from Muçi should have started that game every day of the week. Rashica's different because Gio did say that he's not fit enough to play 90 minutes, so that's fine. Bring him on later as he did. Great. So I think apart from Al-Musrati not being in the starting 11 over Endura, I think it was the right top 11.
Yeah, maybe Masuaku, Emirhan over Masuaku is the only thing I think that could have been done differently, other than Musrati, who I think we all kind of agreed on. I think I was anxious to see who Gio would go with for the striker position, mainly because over the years being a Beşiktaş fan, and most recently Şenol was always that type of coach where you'd like dread to see his lineup, because like in this most recent stint you dread like seeing Onur Bulut on the right wing or something like that, and there've been plenty of coaches like that in the past, like with Necip, seeing him at the right back, or I can't really think of a player right now, but like with Slaven Bilic, with Samet Aybaba, there's always like, I feel like, Mustafa Pekdemek was a big one, like seeing him in the lineup, and you're always kind of anxious to wait and see the lineup. And we, obviously we're new to Gio. We don't really know him all that well yet. We don't know yet how stubborn he can be. So I was kind of dreading a little bit that he'd stick to Mustafa and try to like make a point or something, or like we've seen it. How many times have we seen that where a coach is like, the fans are clearly, showing, not just the fans, just the player himself is showing that, okay, he's probably not the best choice, and then for some reason or another, coaches like go against the grain and decide to stick with that guy. Sometimes that makes sense because you want to get the most out of a player, like a Semih, for example, where he isn't playing well, but it makes sense that you keep starting him or you give him a lot of minutes because you want him to get his form back. But then there's players like Onur who just aren't good enough, and it's like, if you don't have an actual medical reason to start him, you shouldn't, right? And I kind of feel like the same is true for Mustafa, not because of a lack of talent, but more because of a lack of maturity. And, you know, Semih, this was his chance, and he didn't fail. You know, he got thrown into the deep end and he swam, and I think he had a good game, scored a fantastic goal. But again, you know, I've said this many times before, we don't create for our strikers, and Semih had to score a goal on his own because he didn't get a single useful ball in the box in the full 90 minutes. And the same has been true for Ciro for the majority of the season so far. So that is something I really still think we need to fix.
Just while we're on the topic, Kaan, and I feel like I'd be remiss not to mention it. On Semih's goal, you talk about how he had to really do it on his own. Not only did he have to do it on his own in that he was shooting from a good bit of distance and kind of like between two defenders, which came off perfectly in his defense. It might not have even been the best play available to him. You know, Rashica was coming up behind him on the right side and probably would have had a much better shot if he'd passed it, which I think speaks to the fact that he really did take a chance that like he had to kind of make on his own and even be a little ambitious in taking, but it paid off, so we can definitely, I think that's good news.
That's one of those moments that so many football players have in throughout their careers. They have, you know, that moment many times where they decide to be greedy, they decide to be selfish, and if they miss, everyone, including their teammates, will be angry at them. But when they score, obviously everyone praises them, the teammates are happy. I mean, you know what? I think if you saw the reaction from not just his teammates, but especially the bench and Gio, how happy they were, I think for Semih, really for him. I think if one player is allowed to be a little bit selfish in the team,
I mean,
right
he
now,
needed that goal.
It's probably Semih, because I think everyone knows and realizes how important that goal was for him. And we've been saying it for a while now, how that seems to be weighing on him, right? Like, Kartal, I don't know how you think about it, because I know you mentioned at the time, like, Semih's been selfish a couple of times, but do you agree that that's just one of those moments where maybe he needs to be a little bit selfish just to get his goal?
Also, Kartal, I wanted to remind you of, I think it was you who during the match mentioned one of the coaches being excited about Semih's goal and saying something that you thought you read his lips. And I didn't want to steal your thunder, so I'm setting you up for that.
No, I was actually going to say that.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I mean, obviously it's good that he scored, but not all the time, man. He can't be greedy all the time.
No, of course not. But to get his first goal,
to break the duck, right?
I mean, if this game's nothing each and he doesn't give that pass and he misses, that's fucking terrible, you know?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
we're already winning. Then you can we're already up 1-0, mate. I mean, really 1-0 is not ideal. We'd maybe prefer it to be 2-0. You can forgive it. It's fine. But obviously it all worked out great. So I'm very happy. I was buzzing. Because there was a few times in this match he should have passed the ball.
Yeah.
Twice to Rafa, and really he should have passed to Rashica in that position he scored in. But obviously we're all thrilled that he didn't, because it was a great goal, and now he's got that weight off his shoulders. And this could be just the start of what we saw between December and March. Maybe he's going to explode again and score like 9 goals or 10 goals in a space of a few months. And if that happens, that's fantastic. So basically the full technical staff were all like hugging, jumping up and down, and Anton McKellen, who's from Glasgow like myself, head of sports science, he was going like, my boy, you could kind of lip read him saying that. But yeah, so it was very, very, very cool to see how stoked the technical team are that Semih's finally scored his goal, his first of the season. And it's quite funny, there was a tweet I saw earlier on. And you know, there's been some fans on social media saying, "Oh, he's deliberately, Gio's making his mistakes deliberately and stuff like that," and he wants to get out and go to the Netherlands. So someone to take the piss said that, yes, he wants to leave, and it's just that video of him jumping about crazy.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I wonder where some people get those things, man. It's not even. There's not even a job available in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
You know.
The only reason they actually say that is because, the media kind of said to him, "Oh, the Beşiktaş changed the coach 6 times last season." They basically asked him a question. They're saying, "Oh, do you think you'll be able to stay for longer?" And he says, "Well, I hope I can stay for longer, but I've got my bags ready just in case." And he laughed. People have understood that as like, "Oh, he wants to leave," which I find that, to be honest, I think that's just bad intentions by some people in the media. Because see, at the time, no one batted an eyelid at that. It was only after we started getting bad results, people started mentioning that. To me, that shows bad intention.
Yeah, that's malice. That's pure malice. There's people in the media who've been sharpening their knives ever since Hasan Arat became president. They took him out as quick as possible on the previous coaches. Fernando Santos never really. I mean, look, he was the wrong choice to begin with. Let's be honest. But like, he was already getting before the boat started sinking again. And now with Gio, as soon as he gets a couple of bad results in a row, they're gonna be at him like vultures. You just know that's gonna be, the only way for Hasan Arat and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst to weather the storm is by getting results, because otherwise they're just like, if Gio gets wins a couple of trophies or something, does well in Europe, whatever, then they'll have to come down a little bit, because they can't scream everything anymore, once a little bit of success has been achieved. But until that point, they can just keep yelling what they want, because there's a certain demographic in the fans that will buy into that stuff, unfortunately, because they
thrives on drama, is what you're saying, Kaan?
Well,
we got a bunch of drama queens.
It's not, I wouldn't even call it a certain section. I'd say it's probably the majority, which is the saddest thing.
I don't know, man. I think social media does give kind of a skewed worldview on stuff like that, because it's such a bubble sometimes. So I don't know. Sure. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying social media can be weird sometimes. I don't know. Because when you see like our viewers, the people who watch our show, I think I don't see a lot of negative Nancy's in there. But then
the same thing. Like, a lot of our viewers are people that have grown up outside of Turkey and have more of a kind of Western way of thinking,
Maybe. I don't know. Perhaps.
And
I think we've just cultivated a intellectually superior fan base. No, I'm just kidding.
You're sounding a little bit like a Democrat there, Sinan. Be careful, you might lose the elections.
My elitism, my coastal elitism over here.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't call everyone else garbage.
I was just, seriously. It's those garbage listeners over at Ekşi Beşiktaş. No, I'm kidding. I really was joking. I think Kartal's probably right in that the fact that most of our listeners are like diaspora Turks just gives us, maybe we're not inundated so much with so much of the bullshit that's, I think, part of the Turkish football media scrum that you see so often. I know personally, I only understand what few news articles I bother translating, which I think probably helps my mental health quite a bit.
I do a podcast with a Dutch podcast with a Galatasaray fan, a Fener fan, a Trabzon fan, and one of them, like the Gala fan, like I swear to God, like every week, like 2-3 times perhaps, he'll like post something that Ali Koç said over Galatasaray, and he's like, "Oh, they're obsessed with Galatasaray, they're obsessed with blah blah blah blah blah," and I just told him today, like, yeah, but like you are just as obsessed with them than they are with you, because like I don't even know what Ali Koç is saying, what Dursun Özbek is saying. Like I don't pay any attention. Like I'm in the Beşiktaş bubble, so to speak. I couldn't care less about what board members of other clubs are saying, unless it of course goes way too far or something, then you hear it, then you find out. But like, yeah, it's not like, like, don't pay attention to that shit. I don't know why I went on that tangent now, but
I mean, we're talking about, I think, along the lines of how I said I ignore most of the news. I think you're probably you're co-signing that logic.
I've been, ever since we started the Beşiktaş International website back in 2013. Obviously the site hasn't been around for a while, but like my main prerogative back then was don't report any news from bullshit sources. So we only reported news from like that we at the time thought were trustworthy. So still not super reliable, like NTV Sport, DRT Sport, Haber 1903 back then, Ortaçizgi now, stuff like that. Like those to be reported, like things like Fanatic, Fotomatch, Fotosport. We just flat out ignored those. Akşam, like Takvim, never, stuff like that. Like we translated the articles, we posted them, but like the stuff we knew was like 99% of the time was bullshit. Like don't even link it. Back then. Haber 1903 was super important to get your information. Now you can find everything on Twitter, but back then you had to like kind of go read the articles. So the first thing I always did was click the article, scroll down, check the source. If it's anything I don't like, close the window without even reading. Because what's the point? You end up reading an article and you're like reading, and then you get to the end and it's like Kaynak Fanatic, and you're like, oh, I just wasted 5 minutes of my life reading something that's not true, that's just fabricated and sucked out of their thumbs. So,
guys, I think we should get back to the game. We're going on a bit of a tangent about news sources.
Let's get to the game. So first half, Kartal, you said it already. We started out, we were hungry, but it didn't lead to any chances. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, 0 chances in the first half, maybe even 0 shots. There were several moments where I think we were dangerous and we almost like slipped through their defense, but they like caught it off at the last second, so it never really truly led to something that would convert to XG. So I'll actually get my phone out, I was gonna say, but I gave my phone to Kim, so maybe you can check it, Sinan, what the XG was for the first half, or Kartal, because you can just check that in FOTMOB.
Yeah, I gotcha. Sorry.
0.04.
0.04 XG in...
We had 2 shots. We had one from Muçi from long range. That was like the only time he done a take on all game.
Yeah,
took the shot.
Yeah, that's the only time he actually dribbled inside, and then he fired a wild shot at goal, and I think it went wide. It didn't hit the target.
It was right.
And that's something that infuriated me throughout the game. Like Muçi, we attacked a lot over the right side. I don't know if you noticed that, guys, but we attacked a lot over our right wing, their left wing. So that was the Svensson Muçi wing, and every time except for that one moment that you just pointed out, Kartal, Muçi got the ball, looked his opponent in the eyes, turned back, passed the ball back to Svensson or to Rafa or whoever. Like not a single time, other than that one shot you just pointed out, he decided to look the opponent in the eye, dummy him, dribble past him, put in a cross, put in a pass, like a dangerous pass into the box. Not a single time, and it is so infuriating because it was already working on my nerves a lot in the Kasımpaşa game. So I was like, it became a pet peeve of mine just watching him, and I was like, he's gonna pass it back, and every time he passed it back, I was so infuriated by Muçi, man. And then when I watched Galatasaray yesterday and I watched Fenerbahçe yesterday, I only watched the first half of Fenerbahçe, and Fenerbahçe didn't play a great game. But in the first half alone, they created at least 2 really good chances for Edin Dzeko. Like they pass in and around the box so fluidly, even when they're shit. Galatasaray had a great first 60 minutes yesterday against Tottenham. They created so many chances. Like Osimhen scored twice yesterday, and I think everyone who watched that game wasn't super impressed with him because he missed a bunch of really good chances. But he scored twice. So the fact that he missed a bunch of chances means they created a shit ton of chances for him. And in this game, like, our right wing, Muçi, didn't create shit. Our left wing, João Mario, I think had one half-decent cross that the goalkeeper collected in the first half, and that was it. Where are those passes into the box? They are non-existent. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Just wasn't good enough, obviously. I was just very happy to see that I was looking a lot more intense and passionate and pressing high and wanting to win, like showing that will to win, but obviously the end product was just shocking in that first half. Second half was a big improvement in that regard, and then even better when Muçi and Mustrati and Rashica came on. That's when we actually took control of the game and looked the better team and scored goals and created more. Even
it was also the first time throughout the game when we started getting some balls into the penalty area consistently. I don't think it's a coincidence that the first really good cross into the box, low cross into the box from Svensson, was a goal. Yeah. Why don't we do that more? Like, why can't we do that? I don't understand.
I think part of it is, like, see, Svensson and Rashica have got great chemistry. They link up very well. Even if you look at that goal, who's it that passes the ball to Svensson? Rashica.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that relationship, that understanding with other players he plays on the right with. Like, Muçi just passes it back to him. João Mario hasn't really shown any kind of chemistry with him. It's because Rashica has a great chemistry with him, and that's why he's able to play so well when Rashica's there offensively. I mean, that's not the first time this season when they two have been playing together that Svensson's gotten forward and been dangerous. I mean, Svensson's scored some goals this season. He's had a couple of assists. He's been very, very impressive when playing with Rashica offensively. And Svensson was the man of the match. It was phenomenal. Defensively, he was a big.
I agree with you. And we usually do our little poll, our Black Eagle of the match, and I decided to do the poll before the game this time around, so we would actually already have the results in.
There you go.
And I mean, 78% of the people that voted, only 42 votes to be fair, but 78%, almost 79% actually, of the people voted for Jonas Svensson, and 16.7% voted for Semih Kiliçsoy, 4.6% for Al-Musrati, 0% for Rafa. I put Rafa in there because Kartal, you mentioned you thought he was really good. I think he had a decent game, but yeah, I guess most people, if you don't score or give an assist, but Svensson was, even if he doesn't give that assist, like, how amazing was he?
He was phenomenal at the back, and he was very, very good at defending, man. He was sliding in balls, winning them, just doing everything. Just that assist was just the cherry on top for that performance, because defensively he was by far the best player in the park in that first half. But when Rashica came on, that's when he started really getting forward as well, and then got that assist. Just that understanding between the two, just was allowed him to get that cherry on top of that beautiful performance that we'd seen from the start of the game, and made him by far the man of the match. I think he was the man of the match anyway, but that just sealed it for me. It was a really, really good run for him to get to that position, and a perfect kind of mid-height cross. It was beautiful.
So, Jonas Svensson, the Black Eagle of the match, you agree with that, Sinan?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't even think there's competition for the for the spot, to be honest. I mean, who else would be even in contention? Maybe Rafa Silva.
Maybe Semih. I think people get it.
Yeah, you always got to put the goal scorer on the list, right?
Yeah. Plus, I think people, especially, I always had the impression in Turkey, people drool over dribbles. And Semih,
he had a few good runs.
Semih is the type of player, I mentioned it last time, like, he'll put his head down, he starts dribbling, he doesn't really know where he's going with it, but sometimes he ends up in a really good position because of that. It happened in this game where he, on his goal, of course, that was tremendous, but he had like a moment before that, I think, or right after, actually, I think, where he started a dribble in between like their central defenders, and he ended up with a really decent shot that just went wide. Almost could have scored the 3-0 there, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I don't have my timeline confused. So, people tend to love that kind of stuff. Of course, when it's functional, I love it as much as the next guy, but it does get a little bit annoying sometimes when he goes onto one of those dribbles and he, dribbles around two guys and then just blindly runs into the third guy because he has,
I mean, sometimes you just feel like you know the outcome, right? Like, he might get around one guy.
Yeah,
he might get around two, but he's probably not going to get around three.
Especially when it's far away from goal, then it doesn't feel super
and that kind
functional.
of, you know, that like slalom style, I think there's only so many moves you're going to get off before eventually someone just kind of, you know, you've seen it. I mean, he tends to earn some penalties when that does happen.
You need a little bit of
way.
luck with it, of course, and
Exactly,
But
yeah.
I do think we have to give him a lot of credit. Like, he worked his socks off in this game. I felt he was really motivated. You could tell to finally get that chance under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst to play as a striker, and he really wanted to grab it. I think he did it. I think he did a fantastic job. This makes me a lot less worried for the Sunday game against Başakşehir, where we're of course still missing Ciro. So it makes me less worried that it might not be felt as much as we feared. I do think we did feel the absence, but mainly because perhaps
I do think that I for me the sort of second place candidate is maybe more likely to be Rafa Silva, who I think, you know, even when we were not matching Malmö for the most part, he was again, you know, making those runs,
Everything
kind of
came
creating
from
nothing,
him.
creating something out of nothing, you know, giving you that hope that even when we were not looking so sharp, he could still create something, which he almost did, right?
He went on a couple of those runs. One of them that you guys were mentioning off air, the one where Friedrich saves and then it falls to João Mario and he can't put it in, but he went on like a 50-meter run, beating all their defenders, and he had a few moments like that where he went on like a really dangerous run like that, where they really had a hard time stopping him. And I felt like at the point where it was feeling more like Malmö was the more dangerous side, and maybe they were gonna score. The only little glimmer of hope we had at that point in the match kind of felt like it has to come from Rafa. He'll have to go on like some sort of crazy solo run, or he'll have to do something brilliant, and that'll put us in front. But then ultimately it didn't come down to him.
And he did do that. He couldn't score.
Yeah.
He
did that. Yeah.
He scored that shot, man. Like, I was like, well, he's scoring this, man. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But luckily, Gio made the right changes, and we completely took control from that point and scored 2 goals. But one thing I want to emphasise is, like, those substitutions. Do you think they should have came earlier?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
For
they
sure.
should have.
Especially like, I mean, we know which ones.
Yeah.
Al-Musrati.
I mean, when did they come? 70th minutes or something like that?
It was between 65 and 70 for sure.
No, it was 16. It was after 69 for sure, because Yusuf.
It was the 72nd minute. Officially.
Yusuf takes the piss out of the fact that Gio doesn't sub before the 65th minute, and I think at like minute 62, 63, I was like, why is it, where's Musrati or something? And he was like, oh, it's not minute 65 yet. And I was paying attention to the clock more, and then it was like 70. Yeah. So
72nd minute is when it was officially registered.
I think I said something along the lines of, is he waiting to make substitutions until they score? What's going on? And that's what it felt like, because I felt between the kickoff from second half and the 70th minute until those guys came on, other than that, Rafa, maybe right up until that moment Rafa had, it really just felt like it was waiting for them to score, because they were the team that was most dangerous. They had a couple of good attacks. In the first half, I didn't really feel like they were super dangerous and super likely to score, but then they had that one really big chance that fell to one of their players, and he was kind of surprised, and that's why Mert was able to collect it quite easily. I don't know if you guys remember that one where he kind of like the attacker hits it, but he he doesn't hit it right, and Mert collects it quite easy.
The cross hit off one of the players' heads and then kind of just fell in their path, I think, because it was a deflected cross, so you weren't expecting it.
Yeah, but
and Mert just kind of stuck his arms up and did like a basketball block, kind of just to keep it back. It was pretty clever block, actually.
Yeah,
good save.
It was a good save. It was a very calm and collected save, actually. Like, most people would panic in a situation like that, I think, but he was really secure. But that was a massive chance, though.
Yeah, no doubt. I was gonna say, actually, like, when we do the stats, which I don't know.
Let's go into the stats because I want to get. I haven't gotten the ranking up, and I actually want to get that image up. So I'm gonna.
There you go. Yeah, work on that, and I'll read the stat. Yeah. And I'm gonna take my time with this because I wanted to talk about this, the difference between the first and the second half. Because I think when you look at these stats, it's gonna seem very lopsided, which as we've said, it kind of was. But so yeah. Total stats, 50. We had 53% of the ball to their 47. We had a 0.96 xG to their 2.17. They had 16 shots to our 14, 8 on target to our 5, 5 big chances to our 2, 4 missed to our 1. So I'm trying to figure out which of our goals was a big chance, or was not a big chance.
The second one, of course. That's not a big chance, I guess.
Oh yeah, because he was from. Yeah, I guess he was that, like maybe even just outside of the penalty box. Yeah, true. So here's the good part. We completed 455 passes, which is like back to our sweet spot. Oops, you just took down my stats, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And we completed those 454 passes at an 86% rate, which is very efficient. Just great. Like we needed to see us getting back to that, and I think for Kartal and I, who talked about how we had the right kind of mentality, it seemed like right out of the gates. I think that number, that stat reflects that. That we were getting around the pitch, pinging the ball around, doing it at a high rate of efficiency.
You should see it now, by the way.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it. But so yeah, that was good. We held our opponent to 377 passes, significantly less, which makes sense. We had more of the ball. They did complete them at an 83% rate of efficiency, which I think speaks to how they had a pretty good day, all in all. Usually when we're dominant, we keep our opponent below 80% passing, it seems, in this sort of 75% range. But so, for them to be as efficient as they were passing the ball around, I think suggests that they were by no means outmatched or anything of that sort.
If anything, they were the better the team, man.
Of course.
The stats say all 5 big chances to 2 from us. We've got far superior individual quality that brought us this game.
Yeah,
obviously.
Well, and that's where I wanted to actually add some nuance to these stats. I mean, let me quickly first, I guess, finish these up. We committed 7 fouls. They committed 9. I thought the ref was fantastic, by the way.
Oh. What a breath of fresh air that referee was, man.
Yeah, right? Like, you just wish that you had that level of professionalism. It just gave you a taste of what we never had. They had 3 corners to our 2, which suggests that it was, relatively back and forth and even as far as being on who was on which side of the pitch and all that. Now, this was what I wanted to highlight. Because we were talking about how they had, it seems like, many more chances. But I wanted to go to the first half, where the XG, Kartal mentioned we only had a 0.04 XG, which is disgusting. But they only had a 0.69, and they only had 1 big chance, which was missed, obviously, in that first half. So most of those big chances were created in the second half, which is interesting because it was the first half where they seemed the much better side. I think we all agreed. So it's interesting that they didn't really.
I thought we looked better for the most part in the first half, honestly. I think they were still...
Well, I mean, we created the vast majority of our... We were much better going forward in the second half, I guess. But I guess that's kind of what I'm suggesting, too, is that even though we created almost nothing in the first half, we did also not give away too much that was, like, especially dangerous in that first half. And I think that really speaks again to what I was saying earlier about how solid that back pairing, and of course, in this match, Jonas Svensson as well. I mean, even Masuaku, I don't think he had like a howl. He didn't do anything bad, which you like to see, I guess.
Yeah, he didn't screw us this time.
Yeah.
Oh,
which means he had his head screwed on for this match, which is good, especially considering where he's come from.
Yeah, I suppose.
But so the second half, however, and this is why. Sorry, guys, I'm a little sick, so, if I mute, I'm blowing my nose or whatever. But anyway, the second half is where things were different. And, of course, we actually created some chances in the second half. We had a 0.87 XG. They created much more as well. They had a 1.63 xG, but we had 12 shots, they had 10. We had 5 on target, they had 5. So in that sense, those numbers are much more even than the total matched numbers, and we even had more shots than them, although they had 4 big chances to our 2, missed 3 of them to our 1. And I think a lot of this came as a response to going down not just by 1 but 2 goals, which I think, might have been slightly against the run of play in their defense.
Definitely when we scored it was, but yeah.
But by the second, I guess, we kind of established ourselves into the match much more. But so I think they created more chances after they'd gone down. Obviously, they were more desperate. But so what I'm suggesting is that these stats tell a certain story, but they're not as bad as they might appear, superficially. When you break the game into halves, it was like 2 different matches basically. Yeah. One very defensive, conservative, tentative match in the first half with very little action in front of the goals, and then the second half it opened up considerably, and I think Giovanni van Bronckhorst clearly made the right tactical moves as far as doing that, although, as we all said, a little bit delayed, a little slow to make those moves, a little slow to pull the trigger. But
see, Muçi and Rashica start this game, I think we beat them comfortably.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
I think so, but that's the thing, like Rashica obviously wasn't 100%, so it's not really a risk you can take. And Muçi, that's the only one you can.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like a kind of hyper-visual situation. I think with those 2 guys in there, I think we beat them very comfortably if they're in there from the start. Obviously, Rashica wasn't possible. With Strati, it was. What I really hope, man, is that Gio's learned his lesson after this game and just plays Muçi from now on. Like, surely he's been back from injury for like a month, man. Like, surely he's fit to play now.
Yeah, but that's the thing, I mean, you yourself have been praising how good Ndour has been, and like a lot of people have been kind of drooling over how good he's been, and that's just that's both a positive, but in this case it was a negative because it's kept Muçi from coming back into the team.
I've always defended that Muçi should start if he's fit, because when
I'm not saying you haven't, but that's just
like I've said at the same time the whole time that Muçi should be playing if fit, and this game is no different. He should have started this game. Ndour can be a
share
for Jedson maybe, but I think when Muçi is fit,
exactly. Cher did a great job of stepping in for Al Musrati when we needed him to and playing out of position. But it was also, I think, fairly easy to recognize that he was out of position for much of that time.
Maybe not necessarily out of position, but he just doesn't have the same qualities.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, and he's not. I think he's more comfortable being like a part of the offense when he's doing sort of creative things, and not kind of in the back, like initiating your offense. And so I think that's where Al Musrati is so vital for us, right? Because he can get that ball, make that key cutout, and then suddenly he's created, a counter, right? And it's with like a guy Rafa that's so vital.
Musrati is just like he takes like 1 to 2 passing stations out of the equation. He comes in 30 seconds later, he sends that magnificent 50 yard cross pass towards Rashica on the right, and with that pass you eliminate a lot of the ability of the opponent to stop you off early, because our build up is usually too slow, and that's why we don't get close enough to goal. And with Musrati's quick passes, he switches the play so quickly from defense to offense that puts a lot of speed into our attacks, and that's just something that Jedson and Ndour, they don't have that specific quality. They have other qualities. Ndour is a very good football player, but he just cannot bring the same exact qualities that Al Musrati can. And I think that is something as a coach, as Giovanni van Bronckhorst, despite the fact that Ndour has been playing really well, maybe not as well in the last 2 games or so, but he's still been really adequate, and he's been a great addition, I think, to the squad. But despite that, I think Giovanni van Bronckhorst should have realized, or should know really, he is the head coach, how important Musrati is for his style of play, the style of play that Gio wants to play, that we were playing in the first month or so under Gio, and hopefully now he realizes how important Muçi is, because if we can see it, he should definitely see it. And then my only question is, was he perhaps not playing him out of a precaution? That is still a possibility, but we don't know. Maybe you can take us through the dual stats, Kartal, because I don't think we've done that yet, right?
We won 33 to 17 of them, so that was 66% we won. For the ground duels, it was 23 to 15 in our favour, which is 61% for us. Aerial duels, it was they were terrible in aerial duels. Won 10, they won 2, so we won 83% of the aerial duels. Successful dribbles, we had a 71% clip, 5 of them were successful, so that tells me what we only attempted like 7 dribbles all game, which to be honest I think is a bit too low. That number probably should be higher. That we probably should be trying to take on players more. Do you not think so?
Yeah, but that's probably part of the issue, is that we for the longest time until Rasicka came on, and even I don't think Rasicka is a player that does a lot of take-ons particularly, but like other than Semih, the only player who consists, and probably the player who takes on opponents the most consistent of all, is Rafa. Rafa is the only player in the squad that is constantly looking for that one-on-one situation and never shies away from it. And the other players, other than Semih, they don't like to take risks. Masuaku is another one actually that actually has the balls to take on his opponent. But the problem with Masuaku is then he beats his man and then he doesn't really deliver a good cross. Like Masuaku, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but like his best crosses are always early crosses. Whenever he gets...
also, Kaan, you highlighted this last week. Not only does he not necessarily make great crosses, but we don't even really have the personnel to receive those crosses in, usually. So.
But what we do have the personnel for is for getting to the back line and to lay off the ball or to put in a low cross, like Svensson did. And Masuaku, I don't know why, he's actually a decent crosser of the ball when it comes to early in-swinging crosses. But whenever he gets to the back line, whenever he has to give a low cross, I feel like his crosses are always off. They're not good.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's him, or if that maybe is perhaps more the opponents. I'm not quite sure, but it's frustrating.
There's just something I want to say about the earlier discussion about Muçi vis Endur. Just as much as that ability to kind of skip lines with Muçi's passing ability, because I think Endur's a good passer as well. For me, the most important thing is the fact that we can see a lot less attacks when Muçi's on the field. Just because he's like positional awareness on defence is all better. Because Endur's not a natural 6, he doesn't really know what positions to take up and how to prevent these attacks, which Muçi is very, very good at that. As much as he's not to be honest, I think Muçi this season we've seen him bite more and get stuck in more. Even in this game, I think we saw it a fair amount. But the main thing for him is that positional awareness and knowing where to be to stop these attacks getting dangerous. I think that's the main advantage that Muçi has over Endur, in my personal opinion, is that we concede a lot less attacks.
Kartal, and as far as the passing goes, I think they have a different profile as far as the types of passes they make, right? Endur makes much more careful, sort of 1-2 touches, things on the ground, whereas Al-Musrati has the capacity to do these very audacious long balls down the sideline, right? He's kind of initiating attacks. He's almost even forcing guys to step forward and make a counter.
And he takes risks. He's
that's what I mean.
He's one of the players in the squad that is actually willing to take a risk with a pass. And sometimes that ends up in a bad way. We've seen it happen. Especially in the first 6 months when he played for us, a lot of times where he made passing errors and that led to even a couple of goals and dangerous attacks and even in this season we've seen it a few times. But the problem is that if you have nobody on the team who is willing to take those risks, then you're just going to be a stagnant team passing the ball around for 90 minutes. You need a few guys who have the balls to take risks, and we have too few of them. Rafa is one, Semih is one, and Muçi and Jetson and that's kind of it. Okay, Rasicka takes risks too, but we have been without him for a long time. I feel like Muçi, I said this in the group yesterday, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but have you guys noticed Muçi's body language? It's not as bad, but he reminds me a lot of Onur. Like, he's afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, and the criticism's clearly gotten to him as well, or the booing, which obviously I always disagree with. Like, I don't think any of our players should be booed. I think it just it affects the club in the long run because it stops us getting a performance out of these players. Like, that's maybe why he's so scared just now, because of what happened in that Frankfurt game where he got booed. But when he scored the goal, he was had these kind of hand to his ear and he's like, no. Like, that shows you he's pissed about the booing, man. Like, and that kind of backs up what you said. Like, he's not taking any risks on the pitch. Although he's been scoring, he's scored 3 in the last 3.
Yeah.
In play, he looks very bad. I still think he had a very bad in this game.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Statistically, he actually, I don't know if you saw that tweet I shared with you from that under 21 talents account, where they highlighted his stats of the game and they were like propping him up as having a fantastic match.
Yeah,
but that was such a I think add one stat to that, add one extra stat to that list, possession loss. I think it gives a different image of his match, because first and foremost, I think, you know, passing accuracy. He had surprisingly had 4 key passes. That surprised me, but key passes is such a it's not really a great stat, because subjective. What's a key pass? It's like
subjective.
Key passes are not chances created. Which a lot of people think it's the same. It's not really. Key passes can be a very simple lateral pass that leads to a shot is a key pass. That doesn't mean he had a good game. You know, 4 key passes can indicate somebody had a good game. It can also indicate that somebody just played it safe. And I think Muçi in his passing plays it extremely safe. In this game, I didn't see him take a single passing risk, not a single one. And he is there to do that. Whether you're playing as a number 10, you're playing as a left winger or a right winger, those are the 3 most important players on the pitch to create chances. Those are the 3 creators. The left winger, the right winger, and the number 10. Those are the guys who are supposed to be taking risks, who are supposed to be creating chances. And Muçi takes 0 risks right now. And I'm very critical of him for that, but perhaps it's such a difficult subject, I feel, because you can tell that the fans are getting to him. I don't think he was expecting that getting booed, because I mean, not like 2 months ago he was the darling of one of the darlings of the club together with Semih, and now suddenly he's barely played and he wasn't even playing a bad game, because I thought he was actually quite decent against Frankfurt. And then they booed him. And then in the last couple of games, he scored 3 and 3. But I actually think against Kasımpaşa and in this game, I thought he was terrible. Those were the 2 worst matches I've seen Muçi play for Beşiktaş. He scored 2 goals, but he was still rubbish in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, man. I fully agree. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just another thing I want to say about Muçi as well, man. Like, the guy came on in the 72nd minute and could have basically like created like 2 chances. The first one, Muçi gets it to Rasicka crosses it, Muçi misses a good chance. The second one, Jedson, just to waste time, takes the kind of ball out wide instead of going direct to goal, which I get, because obviously you want to wind that clock down. You don't want to like risk it like Masuaku did against Everton. So I understand that, but the fact that in like 20 minutes of play, man, the guy like created 2 chances, man, from attacks he started, and every other pass that he played, I'm pretty sure every single pass was accurate as well. He played in the followed, maybe.
Not just that, Kartal. So he came in and he instigated our attacking rise in the game, but also the match went from 25 minutes of Malmö poking and prodding and really teasing us in and around our box to suddenly it was like they were done.
Yeah,
He can't. I don't think it's a coincidence. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is because he changed the match on both fronts, defensively and offensively, and I think that is why he is so important right now, and he should be playing every game if he's fit.
And that's why it pains me why he didn't play against Kasımpaşa, man. Like maybe it's a different game if he plays against Kasımpaşa,
or even against Galatasaray.
Yeah.
Although I do think against Galatasaray we already had the midfield advantage, but perhaps his quick passing, his long passing could have led to more chances because it would have given Galatasaray less opportunities to foul us early because we'd be skipping those those lines. So what if he would have played?
And I want to open and it's because he was available, he was in the squad, so that's why it's so annoying. And I want to open another bracket for Rashika. I think, although we've all kind of dogged on Rashika, man, we all have, saying that he's kind of average at everything and not really.
I think rightfully so. I don't think we have to make a special player out of Rashika just because he's important.
Which is very true. We all agree on that we probably need someone that's more exceptional at dribbling or exceptional at crossing, exceptional at chance creating. We do need that, but I think with the fact that he's the only good winger decent winger on this team, this guy's so important to our play.
I was gonna say that, like, for all the talk of Musrati being such a important offensive impetus, I think it's also worth noting that Rashica coming in.
I think he's equally as important because.
Because he gives Musrati that outlet along the wing.
Literally, like, I've seen this on social media and I think it's true and it's quite a good analogy. Well, see without Rashica this season, really can he go without wings? What the fuck's without wings? Nothing.
Ernest Kartal.
Ernest Kartal. That's right. And he go without wings is fucking useless, man. He can't fly. He can't do anything.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean,
and that's kind of like. No, I mean, I actually think against Konya that we showed a lot of good things, a lot of great press and intensity, but we weren't ruthless. But in general, man, like since Rashika's been injured, we've not looked very good, and a big part of that is because we're lacking that depth. But he brings that width, not depth.
It's also because our attacks stagnate really early, and we rely solely on Rafa to instigate any sort of danger, or Semih to go on a wild dribble or something. But Semih, whenever when he does that, it always feels like so uncontrolled. Like it feels like he's just rooting around in the earth, kind of like trying to find something. But with Rafa, you can see there's a clear intention, there's a plan. There's thought behind it. With Semih, it's still too raw. And then with Muçi right now, there just isn't. He's just afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You can tell he's actually really good, better I would argue than Semih at being the Arca Direct winger.
And that's how that first goal comes, because he's made that run at the right time. Obviously with a great cross from Svensson, great work between Rashika and Svensson, and then Svensson with a great cross. But I mean, Rashika, man, we all say that he's not very good at creating, but he's actually created 2.68 chances per 90 in the league this season, which is an elite number. Obviously,
I think it's the highest in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
He was in the 91st.1 percentile, so not quite the best, but it's up there for sure, one of the best. Because it'd be 100% if it was the best in the league.
Yeah. There was something he was the top in the league in, but I don't remember what it was.
Maybe that's changed, but since, because he's not played in a while and other players have played.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, look, I think that one of the things that annoys me about Rashica is again the amount of take-ons he does. It's too low, in my opinion.
But he's very, very important to this team because he's the only competent winger we have. But we do need someone that's got that extra bit of talent, you know.
He has good off the ball movement. He stretches the opponents, and he has an understanding, like you said before, with Svensson.
Yeah.
So, and he's just a natural winger. To him, it comes natural. You can see constantly with Muçi. You can tell that's not his position. That's not where he feels comfortable.
João Mario as well. I don't think Mario seems comfortable.
To a lesser extent, I feel. But yes.
I mean, to be honest, I even thought during the game that Gio, man, he should take off. Because I thought Mario, he wasn't excellent, but he was okay. I thought that Muçi should have came off when Musrati and Ashika came on for Mario and the other that came off. So I thought Mario should have stayed on, but obviously Gio ultimately made the right call because it was Muçi that scored that opening goal for us. What?
That's why he gets paid the big bucks, and we're just sitting here talking shit.
But at the same time, like we are sitting here talking shit, but we've been saying for weeks that Musrati should be playing, and I think today again proved that he should have been playing the whole time if he was.
But we don't know. We don't know what the medical staff is saying. We don't know what Musrati is communicating to the coach.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, you're right.
We have so little details, and Gio has the full picture, and we have to trust him that he makes the right choice. To us, to the outside world, it looks like a wrong choice, but maybe he has his reasons that we just aren't privy to, you know?
Yeah, and another player I want to give a shout out to, and I don't think we talked about the goal, and the goal was good, but I think Semih actually had a good game in general, man. I think he was good. His hold-up play was good. He didn't lose a lot of balls. To be honest, I think his hold-up play was better than Immobile's is, man, because I don't think that's one of Immobile's strong points. I think Immobile's a better passer, normally, even though I think that's a bit inconsistent, but...
I think it's a little too anecdotal because because it's a super small sample size. You don't know how Immobile would do against the level of defenders that Semih was up against in this game. Because, like, look at the goal he scores. Semih's like 178, 180, and he's up against a guy that's 1.94 m, and he beats him essentially with a high ball, an aerial duel.
That's a Premier League level centre back.
Yeah, Johnson. Yeah, but still, like, how old is he now? He's not in the Premier League anymore.
Yeah, obviously he's a bit past it now.
33.
Shipped off to Malmö from the Premier League, but
that usually says something, right?
Yeah, but.
I mean, with all due respect for Malmö, of course, but like...
Malmö were a great team, man. Like, in terms of actually playing football over the 90 minutes, they created more than us. I think the first half, we controlled the game, but they had the danger. So I think they were a more effective team than us, if you look at this game in a whole. Like, I just think they lacked that quality in front of goal. If they had it, we could have been talking very differently just now. But I think individual quality and finishing ability was superior, and that's why we won this game. Along with obviously the changes, and I have said I think this would have been a completely different game in a hypothetical situation if Rashica and Musrati started. Obviously, Musrati probably could have started, but we knew for a fact that Rashica wasn't fit enough to play a full 90. But yeah, man, do you not think in this game though, Semih done great at holding up the ball?
I'm gonna let Sinan talk a little.
Yeah, I thought Semih was good. Sorry, I've been quiet because after we had that Muçi conversation, I looked at his stats, and I'm really sort of puzzled. So Fatmab has him as the player of the match.
Yeah, which I think should be
because he has really good stats. Because he's
and the goal
because he played it because he played super safe. Because
but you know, the irony, Kaan, is that his passing wasn't even great. You know, the numbers actually kind of reflect what we were talking about, and I think it's the type of passing he needs to do as a winger, right? Like going out wide and making those long balls. Like even on the ground, it's a little harder for him to do. He doesn't have that.
I'd love to see
impulse or whatever.
Fatmob doesn't have this, but I'd love to see his stats for passes into the area, crosses or passes into the box. I'd love to see that stat because I'm pretty sure it's 0.
Yeah. No, but it gave me a lot to think about because I'm trying to consider like. So he's clearly doing something well, right? Like statistically, and scoring goals, right? 3 in a row. So it's just, what do you do with the situation? I mean, obviously, I think it's that he's a number 10, right? And the problem being that Rafa Silva is as well, and like maybe.
Oh, sorry. If you finish your point, Sinan, and then.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean. Is it a better solution to put Rafa out there on the wing then? But but Rafa's bringing so much.
Yeah, but he's done it for other. He's done it to accommodate other players. He's put Rafa on the wing to accommodate João Mario. He's done it to I don't even remember, but like he's put Rafa on the wing before. So why doesn't he give Muçi a chance in his natural position? Maybe then he'll flourish.
Yeah.
Because
I want to see that. I think I've decided that I want to see.
I want to see that
Rashica and Rafa on the left side with Muçi behind them, and then obviously Ciro.
If you do that though, I think you need to play Emirhan at left back, because we've seen before that Rafa Masuaku duo on the left. Because
but then switch it around then, Kartal. Put Rashica on the left, put Rafa on the right.
But then,
just put Muçi behind the striker.
Then you lose that great chemistry that Svensson and Rashica have together.
Yeah, but you can change during the game. It's.
Yeah.
I think that this is something I would love to see in the game on Sunday, because it's another game without Immobile, so Semih up top. You don't have to put Semih on the bench for this experiment. It gives a perfect opportunity to try it out, to give Muçi that chance behind the striker without having to bench Semih.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth a try, because like Muçi just doesn't doing it on the wing, and we saw last year in the games he did play as a 10, he was pretty good, man. To some games.
And I mean, you think about what he's doing now with the goals he's scoring, when he's scoring them. They're so vital, even. And I mean, obviously the one that was an exception was
this
the
was the only
one
that's vital, right? Like the previous one against Kasımpaşa wasn't either, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, it could have been though.
It could have been.
It should have been vital.
It should have been, yeah.
Right, and when he provided it gave us the 1-0. It's not like it was a garbage
the
time,
opening goal. So you're right. It was the opening goal at an important moment. The one against Galatasaray, that was just,
that was the exception.
That was just the one for the record books.
Do you guys?
What the Galatasaray goal? Sorry, 1 second though. What I wanted to finish the thought with was, I think the Galatasaray goal showed that he has this capacity to score from almost anywhere at any time, and that's actually a very vital skill. Yeah. Especially for a club that's struggling to create, or that's like a little too tentative and not putting enough shots on goal. So I really like to piggyback what you're saying, Kaan. I think we've got to play him at that 10. I don't know how we do it. Is there a way to play two 10s and behind a striker? I don't know how we do this.
You can do that, but the thing is, that is all. We know this. We know this from last season. Like the one thing we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks. But what makes Muçi worth 10 million euros? And we I think none of us can quite put our finger on it. And I think the one thing that we said was, one thing last season we noticed, which he was exceptional. Well, exceptional is maybe a little exaggerated, but one thing he was very good at were those shots from the edge of the area. He was always dangerous with those. He scored a couple of goals like that, a very important one against Ankara in the Cup, but he also created a couple of goals because of the goalkeeper saving it, but spilling it, and then the rebound getting scored, so that also leads to a goal. It creates chaos. But that's like, taking good shots is also dependent on confidence. And I think if you can get Muçi to a place where he's confident again, where he isn't doubting himself, where he isn't afraid to mistakes, where he feels confident enough to take shots again consistently, because do you guys remember he was taking a lot of shots last season?
Yeah,
in the beginning.
Kind of took that out of his play, if you remember.
Yeah, exactly. You said that as well. You said that, Kartal. You highlighted it at the time.
Yeah.
Like you said, it kind of looks like Santos has told Muçi to stop shooting as much.
Yeah.
But when he was doing it, it was creating a lot of danger. But that was always from that number 10 position. So I think he needs a chance, maybe even a run at in the number 10 position. And I know that's something that people aren't going to want to hear, because I think we all prefer to have our best player in the number 10, which is Rafa.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to get the most out of Muçi, you need to give him a run of games in that position, and you need to help him regain his confidence. Hopefully this goal is a step toward that. And I think if you then allow him against Beşiktaş, for example, to start at the 10, and maybe he plays a better game, that could help.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and Kaan, I want to say that what you said is, I think this comment right above me here from Umer about Rafa at 10 and Muçi on the wing. No, it's over there. Rafa at 10 and Muçi on the wing has been way better than Rafa on the wing and Muçi at 10. And I think your what you just said kind of answers that. And I think what we haven't seen is Muçi in this type of form. And I think when you have a guy who's now knocking in goals fairly consistently, you play him at the 10, you're going to get a different result than what we've seen so far.
I don't get that comment. Rafa at 10.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that I've seen that either.
We haven't.
I was going to suggest that we read the comments just so we could talk about that one, but...
yeah, we should talk about the comments eventually.
But yeah, another thing that I think Muçi was better at in the middle was, I think, but maybe the reason why he's so bad at it just now is because of his confidence. But I think last year when he played on the wing, he just didn't lack that pace to kind of take it past his man on the wing. But
he has most explosiveness. Yeah. I feel like once he gets going and he goes on a run, like if you remember against Fener, like Szymanski just couldn't catch him.
I feel like centrally, when he's not dealing with fast players, he can go in these piercing runs. We saw it with his Galatasaray, we saw it against Fenerbahce, and a couple other games. But I feel like he just lacks that bit of pace to be able to do that on the wing against a faster fullback.
It's more the acceleration, Kartal. It's the explosiveness, the ability to instantly hit top speed. Like that's something that the best wingers in the world who are fast, because not all the best wingers in the world are necessarily fast. Like the really good speedy wingers, their biggest weapon is, if you remember Eden Hazard in his prime, what would he do? He'd go up to his direct opponent, he'd basically stop, look him in the eye, and then he's like, whoop, he's gone. And that's something a really good winger, for example, I mean, you don't necessarily need to be at full stop, but that's something Muçi doesn't have. He doesn't have that explosive speed. Rafa has that, for example. He could do that. But that's
let's be serious. As a winger, it's not like you can't. As a winger, it's not like you can't come and play centrally every here so often, right? You're expected to, especially if you're more of an attacking winger. And I think, given that the type of chances Rafa's already a part of, often being on the counter and all that, it almost doesn't matter if he's coming in from the wing or from the center. You know, he's going to go where the ball is. Mm-hmm. And like in response to this comment here from Umer, Muçi got two of his 3 goals in his current form at the back post playing wing. Why would we risk it playing him at the 10? Go ahead, Kaan.
But why wouldn't you be able to score those goals playing from the 10? You can make those runs from the 10.
I was about to say, why would a 10 not be able to get to the back post on a on a
when
cross?
When you play with 2 strikers,
In fact, I think the cross from Masuaku to Muçi, at that point Muçi was a left winger and he went to the back post on the right side. So it's not like being a left winger put him in the wrong place for that position either. So I mean, there's always going to be fluidity in terms of chance creation and players, where the ball is going and all that.
And players with those instincts are going to go where they expect the ball to be anyway. They know they have those instincts. They have that anticipation and they look for the gaps. Rafa is a player like that. Muçi has that apparently more so than Semih does.
Yeah. I mean, no, I want to see it. I want to see it.
Do you guys want to do the comments then? Because I feel like we've been a bit unfair. We've just skipped down to the bottom, which is...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to give anyone the sense that they're less important. Let's see. I'll pull it up on my phone here so I can see them all. Okay. So we have Atil Can Malak, our guy Atil from Chicago. Not Evren. Chicago, whatever. There's all these weird names.
If it was Evren Chicago, then you wouldn't be able to read what he says because he drops like half the syllables.
But also, didn't that guy end up in like jail or something at the end of last year? Or he was like yanked out of the stadium like by security forces? There's some story. Was that him, Kartal? You're more plugged into that.
No, that's Ikem Alpine, man. Evren Chicago was in America.
There you go.
He's in Chicago. That's why it's called Evren Chicago.
Used to be Evren... Chester? Manchester, yeah, Evren Manchester. When he was still married.
So Atil, you should look up Evren. Maybe you guys could go to do a Beşiktaş watching session. Anyway,
he's a very good guy, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, if you want to subject yourself to that,
I think
I didn't want to be rude online. But... Go ahead, Kaan. What were you gonna say?
I think Sunshine Man knows him.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. Continuing, Carlito. Good evening, gents. Good evening, sir. God, this one's for you, Kaan. Yusuf says, Svensson was great versus Malmö. Do you guys think he can surpass the GOAT right back Hilbert?
It
might be a tough... I don't know if anyone will surpass the GOAT.
Yep, I agree, man. Hilbert was the best right back with it. See, to be honest, man, like, I actually really liked Hilbert, man.
I mean, I was always on the fence, but Kaan would not take that for an answer.
I mean, Gökhan Gönül is the best right back I've seen. Gökhan Gönül, number 1 for me.
Yeah, same. I mean, although, was this you, Kartal, who said that the one season of Rosier might be the best single season of a right back?
Yeah.
There's probably some.
I said that, and I stand by that. In terms of a single season, 2021 Rosier was the best right back performance we've seen.
Yeah.
What he and Gazal were doing was like our whole offense for a while.
Yeah, that was. It wasn't just also scoring important goals and stuff like that. The thing with like how I was watching this game and getting annoyed with Muçi because every time he passed it back to Svensson, I had a similar thing with Hilbert throughout his Beşiktaş career because every time he'd go and he'd cross and it was always like a cross with absolutely no idea if anyone was in that area and it was just like a blind cross or the cross would go behind or his crosses were so bad, man. But
he ran a lot and was very passionate.
He was, definitely.
True.
He scored like a fantastic goal against Stoke, I think, if I remember correctly. And he was always running it like he had like 3 lungs. Was a very hard worker, very. I want to say very disciplined, a professional. The problem with I'm saying with the discipline thing is like I sometimes he'd like lift the offside trap in a stupid way where it really pissed me off. I remember this goal once we conceded in Kiliàsoy where it was just him slacking on coming back and it's just still like etched in my memory and no.
For anyone who doesn't know, Yusuf is a pretty good friend of ours, and so he's trolling Kaan. He knows how Kaan feels.
Yeah.
He knows how he feels when.
Look, I think Hilbert. I just didn't think he was. I'm surprised by how many people rate him so highly because I thought he had such obvious deficiencies.
I think we're all giving him a slightly hard time. I mean, I don't. Yeah. Anyway.
I liked him.
Yeah,
I did too. I didn't dislike him. Certainly not to the extent Kaan did. Although obviously, I think we all saw his deficiencies that like you were talking about. I mean, you guys actually did a really good job of highlighting. I think both his low lights and his highlights between the two of you. Because you're right, Kartal. The fitness and the kind of desire to be wherever he needed to be.
I remember when he came in, he was supposed to be a winger.
That's right.
Because he wasn't a very good winger.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be. We were supposed to have. Quaresma on one side and Hilbert on the other side, but that.
Another strange thing was in that first season he wore the number 9. Do you remember that?
He wore number 9.
That's why.
Didn't he wear that for a while? I mean, I want to say.
Yeah. The second season he changed to 13.
Yeah, second season Almeida got 9, I guess, because he got 34 when he came in.
9. That's right. I know the next comment, man. Trippy Gallon.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. But just
I
to
hope
highlight
you stuck around to listen that we were kind of
joking. No, I think he did. I think he's commenting on it. But I will say that the Hilbert transition from wing to back kind of is perhaps my inspiration for thinking maybe Rashica could have made that conversion when that was part of that conversation for a while.
I'm gonna, guys, is it okay, Sinan? I'm gonna pull up the rankings already, then people can study that a little bit and you can keep going down.
Sure, yeah.
Keep going down.
So yeah, then we have Trippy Galen, who said, "Hey guys, loving the intellectual and elite discussion of Beşiktaş, which is an allusion to our coastal elitism from earlier. We all. That's what we're here for, Galen."
He definitely voted for Trump.
I don't know. I think maybe he's an elitist like ourselves. No, I'm kidding. Umar Gunal says, "Yeah, the sub should have come around 45 if he wants to be kind. 60, not 75." I'm definitely in the 60 camp. Like my rule when I played Football Manager was always like to give my team at least 15-20 minutes to see how they reacted to my halftime talks. So I understand his feelings on that. And I mean, it's worth noting that Gio has a pretty good track record of saying something at the half to get a good response, right? So it makes sense he'd have the same idea. But yeah, 60 for sure, not 75. Or 72 or whatever it was. Next, Umer again. Bring that. We have a wall of Umer now. The Umer wall, the black wall. Bring that ref to the league and pay him whatever he wants.
Yeah, let him referee every single derby.
Please, yeah.
And we might be able
or at least
to win one.
give him the VAR booth at least. You know, give him some very integral role in how we do things. Okay, next up again, Umer. I think we will start seeing Sally more. Also, anytime he comes on, we'll start pushing up way easier. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that could also be a product of Al-Musrati and Rashica being in, and the fact that we, as a collective, had more impetus going forward. But I mean, Sally's also no doubt had some good cameos.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he came in against Kasımpaşa and did absolutely nothing as well. So I mean,
he gave a great pass to Semih. That's not true, bro. He gave that brilliant pass to Semih.
Okay, fair enough. But
I mean, but look, let's be serious. We all know. We all know the risk of playing Sally, and it's you know, the waves of the Sally experience, right? You're gonna get the highs and you're gonna get these lows where for 3 or 4
most
games
of the lows
he just
are usually
disappears.
just that he but also that he
Ghost.
or gets injured again, you know, like finally gets going and then gets injured. That's something that happens a lot to him, and I always found the most frustrating with Sally was that we'd lose him for a long time.
Exactly. But so yeah, but you're absolutely right. He's made some good cameos. I mean, I think we have almost found his role where, you know, when you need sort of instant.
I think he should get more minutes.
Yeah, we should. He should be subbed in more regularly. But I don't think any of us is like he should be starting. You know, over Gedson or whatever.
I mean, like if he needs to get more minutes, then who are you gonna take off? Because you're either gonna take off Rafa or you're gonna take off Gedson, right? Like, and now
that you have Al-Musrati and Kartal, I think we can all agree that you probably want to see Cher coming in for Gedson rather than. I mean, we've got a lot of options.
I don't really, unless the win is secure, I don't want to see Rafa or Gedson coming off. Honestly,
ideally,
those are two.
I think the point remains, but Sarri's played well enough where I think he's not getting enough minutes compared to what he's given you on the park, because almost every time he's came on, he's done something.
Yeah, but the problem
would you not agree, Kartal, that like it's not criminal, because when you look at all the options we have, I mean, like so many guys deserve minutes, right?
We're pretty stacked, man, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
even João Maria, right? His best performances are sometimes retrieving the ball in the center of the midfield. So I
think Sarri's played better in the minutes he's got than João Mario has, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, although you've got to, with a new player, you got to give him that chance to integrate too. So.
I don't know. I think, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but like, again, I think if you're not in a comfortable position, I would always leave Gedson and Rafa on as long as possible.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. Yeah, so, unless one of them's having a stinker.
Yeah. Okay, but I don't know who you bring Sally in realistically for. You know, like. I think if Sally was a winger, different story. But I think
or you could put Rafa out wide and bring Sarri in the middle.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that for sure. Like if you take off Muçi, for example, and you put Sally behind the striker or something, and then put Rafa wide. You can do. There's ways to fit him in. I'm just trying to say. I think I'm just saying. I don't think there's like Sally. Yeah, it's
a traffic jam in that position.
There's not an obvious, sometimes you have those players that you just know, minute 60, 65, they are going to come in, player X is going to come in for player Y, and that's a pattern that repeats every game. I feel like with Sally, if he's player X, I don't think there's a player Y, if that makes sense. Like there isn't an obvious candidate for him to replace in minute 60, 65 every game. Let's continue with the comments.
So yeah, and I'll move past all the Muçi stuff with Umer. I think we've already covered that.
Not in full.
Not the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, the Foden thing we've sort of already addressed, but like, yeah, the next point. Yeah, but where was the 10 when Muçi was at the back post? Think about that.
I think, I mean, if the ball's, let's say the ball's on that right flank, the number 10 can make a diagonal run to the back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see the point there. I mean, again, it's very anecdotal, Umer, insofar as like, where was the number 10 on that one play? I mean, it doesn't really matter so much, because at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fact that number 10 could get into that position to score that goal, regardless of who the 10 was or where they were at that moment.
You have multiple options, right? You can offer your fullback a passing option nearby, you can make a run to the penalty spots, you can make a pot to the near post, or you can make a run to the far post. Like, you have those options. But Muçi has those options as well. Muçi can decide to, because he was playing on the left at that point, he could have come in the penalty spot, but it kind of depends. Like, if he sees, for example, Rafa is taking in that particular area, or Semih is going there, or whatever, like, you go where the space is. That's, yeah, I mean, sometimes that's something that's instructed. Most of the time, actually, that is something that's instructed. But
exactly.
Yeah, it's also something instinctually, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. Final comment, or no, got a couple comments. One of them, though, is maybe my favorite one from Umer so far. He says, "The rest of the viewers are asleep, it seems. Where is the comments, guys? Where are the comments? Exactly. These guys are up early in the morning for the show. Come on." Yeah, sure. Sort of, something like that.
Omer is up early for this shit, man. Like, he's in Dubai or something. Like, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's up early.
He's up late. He's up late for this, I should say.
Or that's what it is. Yeah, exactly.
He's our MVP in the comments today.
Definitely. Today's MVP, Umer.
Often.
We don't have to put it to vote on Twitter. We can agree that Umer is our MVP.
That's something we decide.
And then finally we have M. Sarper. Good to see you back, sir. And he says, focusing on the league title to focusing Europa League. The team needs an aim. We can scrabble easily. So I think you mean...
We need to set a target. And I think, look, second place in the league at this point, and if we could at least get to the knockout stages of the Euro, which I think we're going to do, I'd say, let's say, try and get to the round of 16 of the Europa League and second place in the league. I'll be happy with that. For example.
Yeah, I don't think we have to necessarily. I don't think we're at a phase yet where we have to deprioritize one thing. Like, I think we're still. I think we're still playing well enough on both fronts. I mean, obviously we need to see some better performances in the league, but I think it'll be a lot easier. The key thing is getting players back healthy, and I think now that we have them coming back, it shouldn't be too hard for us to compete on two ends. And there are a bunch of guys who need playing time, So
and our schedule is going to be much. I think our schedule is a little lighter going forward, so hopefully we'll stay spared of the injuries. I think until further notice, you set the target of second place. However, you don't know how the season develops. If we go on like a 7-8 game winning streak, and Galatasaray, I said this in our group earlier, but Galatasaray this weekend are playing at home against Samsunspor. That will be their 11th league match of the season. It's their 7th home game. 7th. That means in the second half of the season, they're going to have a stretch of 11 matches where they play away 7 times, including away at Samsun, including away at Beşiktaş. So there's a possibility. I don't see it at the moment, but it could present itself at any given point where they start dropping some points. They lost Mauro Icardi yesterday. He's out for the season, tore his ACL and damaged his meniscus. So Icardi's out. Yeah. Of course, they still have Osimhen, they have Batshuayi. But, I mean, you never know, man.
Yeah, all it takes is a couple of bad games. I mean, look, 2 weeks ago we were talking about winning the league, and now 2 weeks later we're saying we're out.
Yeah, exactly. A lot can happen in 2 weeks. That's a perfect point.
It could. It isn't super likely, but if they lose back-to-back
matches... And don't forget
the
schedule, man. Like, they were given a launch pad with all these home games, but that's gonna flip. It's gonna flip. As long as we're in position, as long as we're within striking range, when all those, home and away things flip around, there could be a point, like next spring, at some point in the spring, where suddenly they're like ups. They dropped a point on the road, and then the next week they're going to play another tough opponent on the road. And if we've kind of strung some wins together, that could be us taking advantage.
It's possible. I mean, we are obviously on the back foot, but I think it's silly to throw in the towel in November. We just have to. Obviously, again, Sunday is extremely important. We have to win that game. That's a tough one. Başakşehir away, they aren't in great form, but they did just get a point in Copenhagen, so they are apparently just coming into form right when they're about to play us.
Perfect.
Let's take it game by game. We're in a good position now in the Europa League. I think it's a good moment to transition to that now because we have the standings up, but we're in a good place. We have 6 points out of 4 matches, half of the schedule played. If we can hypothetically double that with another 6 points in the next 4 games, then we have 12 points, and then we are 99% sure of qualification. In fact, with 9 points, you are already like 90% sure. Our next match is... our next game is very important. It's against Maccabi Tel Aviv. It looks like it'll be not just at a neutral venue, but also behind closed doors, according to Feas Ucher. There's a high probability of that. You have to make that make sense to me. I really don't understand. There's a little, you know, the understanding person in me is willing to humor the idea of playing in a neutral venue. I kind of understand it because safety cannot be guaranteed. But I'm sorry, if you have to play at a neutral venue and then you have to
you gotta at least let fans,
and then you have to play without fans, then that to me tells that you cannot guarantee the safety anywhere. So then what is this team doing in Europe? Because then they're not...
Look at the standings too, man. I mean, look, say what you will, but look at the 2 teams on the bottom there. Like, we're wrapping everything around, like trying to help these guys, like, play in this competition, right?
But
sure,
there's a big difference though, Sinan. Like, Dynamo Kiev are the invaded country.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's not even the same thing.
Of course not. No, you still... The strife that these people are undertaking and undergoing.
If Turkey invaded Cyprus, we would not be in this table. Let's be honest.
Of course not.
If Turkey,
There's no way.
If Turkey invaded Cyprus, the south of Cyprus, then
I mean, it's telling that there's no Russian team on that table.
No. And you know, politics aside, like it's just they're UEFA are clearly going with double standards. That's just, I mean, I don't know if you guys caught what happened yesterday.
Basically, West. It's not just UEFA. The whole.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't know if you guys caught what happened the last 2 days in Amsterdam with the Maccabi fans.
It'd be hard to avoid that.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they're trying to spin it in a way where they are the victims right now. And look, I'm not condoning any of the violence that happened toward them, but let's not act like they didn't start the violence in the first place. And the aggression.
Well, supposedly they beat up a Moroccan cab driver.
They beat up a cab driver. They vandalized taxis. They vandalized buildings. They took down flags and stuff like that. Apparently, there were Mossad agents undercover among them, even stuff like that. Like,
did you hear about their chants? They were chanting about like death to Arabs and stuff in the stadium.
Exactly. I mean, like, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're completely tone deaf, but Amsterdam, there's a lot of Moroccans and a lot of other Arabs there. Like, why would you do... Like, those are obviously hooligan fans. They don't represent Judaism. They don't represent all of Israel. I understand that. But, like, why is Beşiktaş being punished?
For their...
Yeah, I don't understand it. I really don't. It's like...
If it was their home game, put it wherever you got to.
Like, I agree. You have to be able to, within reason, guarantee safety for their players, for their staff, for their entourage. Their fans, this is very simple. You ban them. That's what happened to our fans in Lyon. You just ban them. Their fans are not allowed. Simple as that. But their team, their staff, their entourage, those people within reason you can never 100% guarantee safety. That's just not possible. That's not possible for us either. Like, when our team goes somewhere, you can't guarantee that some, like, we've seen it in the past when some crazy bastard blew up near the stadium and stuff like that, like in 2016 or whenever it was. Like, stuff like that can happen, right? Like, terrorists can attack. We've seen terrorist attacks in Madrid. We've seen terrorist attacks in London. We've seen terrorist attacks in Brussels over the last decade and a half. So it can happen anywhere. So you can never 100% guarantee safety, but you need to be able to guarantee safety within reason. And if then the Turkish government say, we can't do it, okay, I kind of understand it. But I am of the opinion, first and foremost, if UEFA insists on including Israeli clubs, which is their prerogative, they're the governing body, if they insist on that, fine. But why do you not separate Turkish and Israeli clubs? They did the same thing for Ukrainian and Russian clubs for 6 years. From 2014 until 2020, until Russia invaded Ukraine, which was what, 21? I don't even remember. Until that moment, when Russian clubs were still allowed in Europe, for 6 years before that, they weren't allowed to be drawn against each other. Every Champions League group stage draw, Europa League group stage draw, they'd separate those clubs from those two countries. Turkey is the only majority Muslim country in the UEFA. So it makes sense that you would separate Israeli and Turkish clubs, right? Because there's gonna be animosity. Look at the animosity that those Maccabi fans had towards Muslims in Amsterdam yesterday. But it's not just Turkish clubs, right? Did you see the banner from PSG, from Paris Saint-Germain this week? Like, there's a lot of antipathy for Israel right now, which is understandable, and that's obviously going to translate to the clubs. Unfortunately, it shouldn't, but it will. And I think I don't think Maccabi Tel Aviv can go anywhere in Europe right now and be guaranteed safety. Because if a crazy guy in Turkey can do a terrorist attack, a crazy guy in France, a crazy guy in Germany, in anywhere, they can do it anywhere. So why should Beşiktaş be penalized? Safety.
It's a little weird too. Like, so fine, you let them play in the stadium in Amsterdam, but then you also let their visiting fans come. So there's like no safety measures put in place anywhere else. Yeah, despite what you're saying, which is like the very inflamed political situation, you'd think there would be some consideration for all of this stuff. But like, it's literally when it's just to punish us. It's like, all right, let's make sure that. I mean, but it's also worth mentioning that the Turkish government and these guys are bringing attention to that. I mean, you've already mentioned this too, Kaan, too. But the Turkish government's role in enabling UEFA and basically saying, yeah, it's true, we can't guarantee security is. Interesting.
Kartal, did you see that that's Yeni Atik, or what newspaper is that?
Yeah, so a newspaper, like a bullshit newspaper, said that basically if we play that game that we're basically traitors to the country. If we play that game and that there's no more moralist team as Beşiktaş if we play that game.
What I mean, why should we be punished? If we don't play that team, that game, what happens? We get penalized. They get 3 points.
Yeah, we lose out on money and a chance in the next round. And that's a game we should be winning easily on paper.
If anything, everyone in Turkey should be 100% behind Beşiktaş to win that game.
Alright, 5-6 now.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
I don't believe that's gonna happen because we need to have some decent wing play for that first. But I mean,
hopefully everyone's fit.
If we can, if everyone's fit, and we saw it against Lugano, then that could actually happen. But that's also one of those things. We have to play at a neutral venue. That's extra travel. We've already had so much travel, and then our fans won't even be able to come to the stadium. So we'll have to play it in front of a dead crowd. Like, you can't even that completely takes away from that game. I was actually looking forward to that match. I was, because it's on paper our easiest opponent. It's on paper our best chance in the league stages to pad our goal differential. And if you take fans out of the equation, that takes a lot of energy out of the team. I think it's super unfair. I mean,
it's not fair, man. Yeah, no, I feel like it's not fair at all, but I'll just keep talking about it. It's not going to change the situation, man, to be honest. So I think we should just we've set up. We should probably just move on.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at these rankings now, guys? Sinan, maybe you want to do.
You guys are gonna get me. You guys are gonna get me deported from Trump's America with this talk. You know, he's talking about deporting pro-Palestinian protesters.
I don't think we said anything wrong. We didn't make any.
I'm just kidding.
We didn't make any political
kidding.
statements. And again, I fully agree that safety needs to be within reason guaranteed to the Maccabi team. That is normal,
No,
right?
I'm joking. Honestly, if they want to they're not going to deport me anywhere. I was born here.
Yeah, you don't have a second nationality, so they can't send you anywhere anyway.
Exactly.
Maybe they can send you to Ethiopia.
Yeah, oh no. On that note, though, guys, I do have to leave quite soon.
Yeah.
I've got to go run a practice.
Let's.
So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much done. So let's go over the standings and.
Yeah. All right. Shall we? You want me to like run through the whole standings, or basically?
If we just talk about our situation.
Yeah, let's just talk about our situation, what position we're in.
Yeah.
And,
And we're pretty much like dead in the middle, like quite literally, right? Yep. 18 out of 36, with a -4 goal differential. Obviously, that Ajax match is the mind killer, so to speak. But I think we'll get past that. It seems like we'll get enough points where that might not be too difficult for us to get past.
No, I mean if we win that Maccabi game, I think we're done. We can play the remaining 3 matches without too much pressure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean,
we have 3 after Maccabi.
We have Bodo Glimt away. We have Athletic Club at home, and then we have Twente away in the last match.
Oh my god, I forgot.
Yeah.
They have Twente or AK Alkmaar?
Twente.
Different teams, so it's 20. I predict that we'll end with 11 points. I think we'll lose to Bilbao and Bodo. We'll draw 20 and we'll beat Maccabi. So I think we'll end with 11 points.
That's 10 points though, Kartal.
Oh yeah. No. Let me think. Draw 20. Yeah.
Although it's worth mentioning that Bodo Glimt just lost at home against Karabakh, so perhaps there is hope. And let's not forget, when we do face Bodo Glimt, which is the game after Maccabi, which will be in December if I'm not mistaken, Bodo will have been out of the season for a while. A lot of their players perhaps won't be super fit. So there is a chance. You never know. There's also a realistic chance that we'll play on a frozen artificial pitch and that we'll get injuries though.
For sure.
Although I don't think Bodo would do that, by the way. Like, 'cause that's like a kind of a dirty trick that like Scandinavian teams would sometimes utilize. But I think Bodo have too much capital on the pitch themselves. I don't think they would risk injuring their own players.
You play a slick, quick, direct brand of football as well, which wouldn't be suitable. I wouldn't be suitable for that.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, man, like 3 more points we're through. I reckon we'll get 10, maybe 11, or maybe we could get 13, man, if we win against Bodo or Bilbao. But I think we're going to pump Maccabi. Yeah, I really do.
What were our predictions? Do you guys remember? For points?
I am way off. I know that.
I think I might be dead on. Did I say 10 or 12?
Perhaps. We'll have to.
I was realistic, man. If we beat Maccabi, which we will, and then if we win 1 more game, we've got 12.
But we're halfway through the league stages now, though, guys. Do you think that's 6 points out of 4 matches? Are you happy with that?
Ready?
Yeah, very much so. Honestly, like this was the hardest portion of the competition too for us, right? We played the like Ajax and Eintracht Frankfurt.
This was,
and, I mean,
in theory, I think our first easy match. We saw how easy it was. It wasn't easy at all. And, if there is a Malmö fan watching, we very much think you deserve to win.
yeah.
But you didn't, unfortunately for us. Unfortunately for Malmö, for the Swedish champions. But, I am definitely happy with the 6 points. I think if you would have told me you're coming out of the first 4 matches with 6 points, I'll be okay with that,
Yeah. I mean, technically we're on track to 12 points, and that means Sinan's prediction would have been spot on.
Yeah.
That would be...
if we repeat this performance, but I just think Bodo, they seem like a bit of a bogey team for us, man. Yeah,
Bodo is going to be tough, man. And Athletic Club, look, they're in the top 8 right now. What position are they in? They're in 6th at the moment.
I think we'll beat Twente. I still think we'll beat Twente. and I think we'll beat Maccabi.
I hope so. Twente
that's 12.
won't be easy. Twente definitely won't be easy, but it's also in January, and I believe new transfers are actually allowed to play in those last 2 games. So perhaps, you never know. Or if we have a fully fit team, I definitely think we can beat Twente. But it's also worth mentioning right now, Maccabi Tel Aviv, our opponent in the next game, are currently second to last in the rankings. They still have 0 points, and they have a very low goal average. They lost this last game against Ajax. So, on paper, this is a game we always have to win it, even if it's played at a neutral venue, even if it's played without fans. I think the only thing you have an excuse for is not to win with a big scoreline, but you have to beat them. Whether it's 1-0 or it's 5-0, I don't really care, as long as you get the 3 points. Dropping points against Maccabi Tel Aviv would be a massive letdown. And, I think if we drop points against Tel Aviv, that UEFA owe us money, man. I think they owe us money regardless. I think they should compensate Beşiktaş, honestly. You're taking away the money of the gate. You're endangering a potential win. I
mean, honestly, what just happened in Amsterdam should be UEFA's responsibility too. If you want my honest opinion, I don't know what they expected to come out of this as far as political tensions and people being,
letting them
less than rational and decent given everything that's going on.
There were issues already last season. Maccabi played away in Athens, and there were issues like this in Athens.
That's right.
And it's not like Athens has a large Muslim population or anything. There were just some people. They beat up a guy with a Palestinian flag and stuff like that. And look, I'm sorry if you can't take people showing some support for Palestine, showing support for Palestine is not the same thing as showing support for a terrorist organization. Palestine is not a terrorist organization. Hamas is the terrorist organization, but Palestine is not. So showing some support for Palestine, that is not a reason to beat somebody up.
Anyway, guys, I think we're going off on a tangent again.
Let's finish up with the comments, because we have a bunch of those, and then we can. I think we can finish it.
I already closed the set. Okay, here we go. Okay. It's all Israel stuff. We are being punished because our Ministry of Foreign Affairs is a bitch. Let's just admit it. We can't get a word in because we have been left weak by people in charge, no doubt. It's not just UEFA, the Turkish government said they... this is Trippy Galen, by the way. Mm-hmm. He's back. It's not just UEFA, the Turkish government. Yeah. The Turkish government said that they can't guarantee safety as well. Carlito, on top of it all, Beşiktaş undergoes heinous defamation from a Turkish newspaper. This was cut from the thing. It's not in the YouTube chat because I guess it's the curse. But Umer says, Karma, don't call that piece of toilet paper a newspaper. Anyone reads that piece of shit seriously, they deserve everything that they get. Yeah. I don't know if anyone deserves shit for reading it, but certainly whoever wrote that shit deserves more than just a little shit. Carlito agreed, but it gets published. It's still an attack. They're lapdogs of certain someone.
Yeah.
I don't know who that.
Yeah, no. They have that newspaper.
That kid Landers intro.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, okay.
This is good.
Carlito, that's why he said, I don't. Yeah, if we spell it out, we're getting him in trouble. Then finally, Carlito says, nice doomsday scenario, Kaan, about Bodo. Jeez, knock on wood. He means about it being snowy and on a crap pitch or whatever, I think. But yeah, so that's it for the comments. Anyone any parting words?
I mean, all I want to say is that I really hope Gio's learned his lesson. And when we have Muçi available, Rashika available, Svensson available, like we saw against Kassenbusher, these guys all need to start. We don't have a team. We don't have enough depth to play about with things too much. When we've got that team in that system that works, we should be using that in the games. So I just want to see that until January, and then January when we add more quality in, and then we can go back to kind of more experimental stuff. But while we can, we just need to stick to this team that works, I feel.
Did you catch after the game? Actually, Feyyaz obviously made the statements about the Maccabi game, but he also actually acknowledged the criticism by the fans for the squad, and he said, yeah, the fans are right to criticize us. We are aware of the deficiencies of the squad, and that's something we are going to try to work on in January. Like, he didn't hide. He acknowledged it. He recognized it. Like, he wasn't defensive or anything like that. I think that's a positive sign, at least. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, but that's what I want to say is like Gio needs to just stick to what works when he has everyone available. Should stop this kind of experimental stuff, try to find another system until we have the personnel for it.
But what about when Ciro is back? 3-5-2 perhaps?
I mean, it could be tried, man, definitely. But I think as long as he keeps like Misrati in the team, Rashika in the team, man, like these are important things. Yeah. I think you could try that, definitely. But we've got a very important game on Sunday, the 10th of November, 7 o'clock local time in Turkey, 4 o'clock for me, 4 p.m. It'll be 5 p.m. for Kaan in the great city of New York. I believe that will be an 11 a.m. kickoff.
That's correct.
It's a decent. That's a nice time.
Yeah. After breakfast, so I could theoretically, like, by halftime, it's not too early to have a beer, maybe.
What about second breakfast?
Yeah, what about seconds?
Yeah.
That's it.
Crucial game against Beşiktaş. We need to win. Not win in the competition. We need to win to have any hope in the league this season. And with that, Kaan, have you got anything to add, or should we let Sinan take us out?
Well, I do one thing. I kind of feel like we have to give Giovanni Van Bronckhorst some credit. I feel like every time he's made a mistake, he's learned from it. Yeah. He hasn't stuck with it. He hasn't been the stubborn mule. I think Giovanni deserves some props. We had a comment on our last episode about that Giovanni that one of our listeners was like, I'm not quite sure. I don't really think that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is a tactical mastermind. I hope I'm wrong. But, you know, I don't think you need to be a tactical mastermind. I think Giovanni Van... There's, you know, it's not always black and white. I think that Gio has proven to be tactically capable to good. But he doesn't need to be a mastermind. I think if he was a mastermind, he wouldn't be coaching in Turkey. But I think he's a very good coach. I think he's learned from his mistakes. I think he doesn't tend to repeat his mistakes, and that's a positive thing.
Yeah, I don't know what constitutes a tactical mastermind. Bless you, Kaan. I don't know if that's what do you say in that? Okay. I don't know what constitutes a tactical mastermind, to be 100% honest. I mean, every coach has their preferred tactic. And I guess maybe a mastermind would be more reactive and sort of changing, whatever. But like on the other hand, everyone keeps talking about how Giovanni keeps tinkering too much. So it's not like he's not trying things, and you know. So I don't know. I don't know what
that's normal.
I don't know how to quantify.
Tinkering is something a coach tends to do when things aren't working. You know. Exactly, and especially you're dealing with injuries. You're dealing with a bunch of new players who are getting established. There's so many reasons for it, but I think it suggests that he's not like stagnant. You know, I think the worst thing you can be tactically is inflexible and stagnant. You remember Abdullah Avci, when he came in, he had all these fancy new ideas. He stuck with it for...
He discarded them after like 2 weeks.
He stuck with it for about 3 to 4 weeks, and then he completely discarded it, as you said, and he just did the pragmatic thing, and he stagnated. He wasn't tinkering. He just went back to what Sinan Güneş did, and to what kind of worked before, which was Cross and Inshallah. And I think that's something Gio isn't doing. So, you know, after the last game against Kasımpaşa, there were already like people talking about Gio getting sacked and stuff like that. I think it's way too early for that. Even if Sunday doesn't quite go our way, like, Gio is he's not making the same mistakes over and over. He's showing growth. He needs to get time. I'd only argue is that Misrati's staying on the bench for like 3 games in a row when he's back in the squad. Like, but we don't know the ins and outs of that, as you said. Maybe there's a issue.
And look, he deserves a full squad too, right? We're all fully aware of the fact that we're not there yet, right? We need we need some pieces yet.
Compare our situation squad wise to Galatasaray or Fenerbahce. I mean, look Galatasaray. one of their star strikers tears his ACL, but they still have Osimhen and they have Batshuayi. So
Exactly,
I mean,
yeah.
like if Ciro gets injured, we're stuck with Mustafa and with Semih. I mean, stuck with, that's a big word, but like, you know, like, I mean, we don't have the same luxury as our rivals do right now. I think if you put our strongest 11 against their strongest 11 and against Fener's strongest 11, I think we have a good shot. But take a couple of guys out, like 2-3 important players, and we just drop so much in quality. And we were talking about this earlier in a WhatsApp group. I think it depends on who, because we have lost Gabriel Paulista a few times already this season, and Emirhan has stepped in and has almost made it seem like seamless. So when we lose Gabriel Paulista, who's a quality player, it isn't such a big deal as when we lose Musrati, or if we would, God forbid, lose Rafa, or even Rasička. Ciro actually, I think, you know, we lost Ciro. I was dreading that, but I think Semih did really well, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, like, I mean, look at the Galatasaray game, though. Missing Paulista, Rasička, Musrati, and Marth. We missed 4 key players, and we just barely lost.
Yeah.
Missing players.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, Sinan, is there anything else you want to add, man?
I gotta go. That's all I gotta add. I'm really like late.
I've got some chicken kufta waiting for me, man.
All right, you know what to do then, Sinan?
Yeah, stay tuned. First of all, like, follow, subscribe. Thank you to our Patreon subscribers. You know, Kaan's doing fantastic work keeping up with the midweek episodes and all the little specials. I finally got around to that Malmö preview before that match. That was very helpful as far as like singling out, like identifying guys to watch out for. But yeah, so stay tuned, of course. Like we said, Sunday, November 10th, the old IBB match or Başakşehir here, depending on how old you are. Yeah, it should be a great match. Should be an important match, and I really hope we do what we need to get the points there. Beyond that, and it's really important I mention this, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody! I gotta go coach some girls. Thank you, Özkan Derzavati, Zinar Bilek, Uzcan Oud, Paul O'Connor, Atijan Malak, Dara Hansi, 1 and a 2 and a 3, Keith Gregory, and of course, the Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everybody. Peace.